The New York Rangers have lost in the conference finals for the second time in 3 years, and basically they have the same problems they did back in 2022. They rely way too heavily on Igor stealing them playoff hockey games, and their forward core does not show up and score goals when they need them to the most. But that is all going to change today as GM Pasta is on the job. 5 years, boys, you know the deal. If we do not win a Stanley Cup in 5 years with the Rangers, I have ultimately failed the challenge and failed Igor Shesterkin, who right now is the best goaltender in the world the past 3 playoff runs. He's been insane. It's not been his fault. It's been the forwards not being able to score. And let's see what we are working with here with the New York Rangers roster in 2023. So taking a look at the Rangers roster, I mean, we have a lot of great players. Breadman's a 94 overall at 31 years old. Doesn't show up in the playoffs, though. Adam Fox is only a 92, but I've seen him grow to like a 96. Zabinajad's an 88. Trouba still is here. He has 2 years left on his deal, I believe. Right now, though, the only RFAs we got to re-sign next season are Gustafsson, Wenberg as well, which I would like to get back Wenberg, Roslovic, Blake Wheeler. I'm probably going to let go to free agency after the season, but Roslovic is 26 years old, so I probably will re-sign him. And everybody else pretty much is signed, honestly. Goalies are locked up too. All right, so the first move I'm going to make is sadly Chris Kreider has to go. 32 years old. He's got a pretty good contract, but I want to bring in a sniper like Laine, who I know simulates very well in this game. Have him on that first line with Zabinajad and Panarin. I'm also going to throw in a first-round pick. They are retaining salary, so they might decline me. And they did. They do not want to retain salary. Actually, totally unwilling. Maybe if I throw in some draft picks, this might work. I have added Wenberg into the deal to make it work. Also threw in this guy for... All right, so I had to throw Wenberg into the deal to make it work. But luckily, Columbus is happy with the offer I have offered them. And we just picked up an absolute sniper in Patrick Laine. Next up, I'm going after Bob Quist. He's a young guy, signed for 2 years with elite potential. Give up Larson, a second, a first, and Goodrow. And they are totally unwilling to accept my offer. Honestly, kind of odd. I'll have to throw in 2 first-round picks to make this work. Let's see. Columbus still rejected, so this trade is not going to go through. Instead, I'm going to have to settle for Philip Broberg. Does need to be re-signed in the offseason, but because he hasn't played in the NHL, he's not going to want a big contract. Top 4 medium potential for a D-man, and the Edmonton Oilers are granting my trade offer as they feel like they're making out like gangbusters compared to me. All right. Now, our forward core is very good. Our first line, +5 with Panarin, Zabinajad, and Laine. 2 snipers and a playmaker on the wing. We also have Lafreniere, who will grow to like a 90+ overall. Maybe he might slot in on that first line eventually with Trocheck and Roslovic, Capo, Kako, Hurdle, and Goodrow, and our fourth line is okay. We do have an 82 Wheeler down there. Now, defensively, we're very good. Also, Adam Fox up at a 92 overall alongside Keandre Miller, Broberg, and Trouba. Then we have Schneider and Gustafsson. We are rocking with a 95 Igor Shesterkin, the best goaltender in the world today. We have to be able to win a Stanley Cup with this roster. Now, despite starting out very slow at the beginning of the season, we went on an absolute tear after the trade deadline, winning almost every game. We finished with a record of 52, 28, and 2, 106 points. Obviously the best in our division and the 4th best in the entire NHL behind Colorado, Edmonton, and Vancouver, who are all very good teams. Besides, well, maybe. I mean, the Canucks there can kind of be classified as good now. They had a good regular season, made the second round, lost to the Oilers, obviously. Patrick Laine is going to have a career-high 52 goals and 94 points. That is why I wanted to pick this guy up. He simulates great in this game. Redman had 62 apples and 90 points. Zabinajad 77, Trocheck 64. Adam Fox had probably one of the worst seasons I've ever seen him produce. He usually sims good in this game too. Lafreniere only had 50 but had a 30-goal season. Hurdle had 43. And if we take a look at Igor, a 923 save percentage, 8 shutouts, and 40 wins on the season. If this man does not win the Vezina, that is rigged. Leon Draisaitl is going to lead the entire NHL in scoring with 114 points, followed by Matthews, who had 109. Thompson was up there, McDavid, and Jeff Skinner, who had 40 goals and 100 points. Speaking of goals, Matthews will lead with 76. Crosby at 57. Laine was up there. Rantanen 49. Robo had a good season. JT Miller had 47. 47 wins, more than Shesterkin's 40, but for shutouts, who is going to lead? It will be none other than Igor with 8 on on the season. I mean, yeah, this dude should definitely be able to win the Vezina this season. And in the first round of the playoffs, we are going to have to play the Toronto Maple Leafs. So as long as we take it to 7 games, we should be able to pull it out and get the victory. And like I predicted, we would end up beating Toronto in Game 7, of course, just like every other season. Now we have to face Sidney Crosby, an older Crosby in the Pittsburgh Penguins, but obviously still going to be dangerous. We would deal with the Pens in 6 games, and now we have the Tampa Bay Lightning in the conference finals. We know how good that squad is. It is going to be a very, very tough series. And in year number 1, GM Pasta has led the New York Rangers to the Stanley Cup finals up against the Vancouver Canucks, who do have a good roster. But I mean, I've already led the Rangers farther than they have gone the past 3 seasons. But now it's time to clutch up and finally take home the Stanley Cup for the first time since, I think, 1994. And just like in 94, we are going to beat the Vancouver Canucks in the Stanley Cup Finals, this time in 5 games, as we were clearly the better team, and GM Pasta in his very first season has led the New York Rangers to a Stanley Cup. Obviously completing the challenge already, but we got 4 more years to go. I might even be able to create a dynasty here in New York. We have the goalie, we have the first line, we have the number 1 D-man in Adam Fox, all pretty much locked up on term. As the Conn Smythe, it will go to Patrick Laine, 12 goals, 27 points, the most important trade in Rangers history. I knew bringing this guy along would be absolutely magical. He simulates like a god, an absolute sniper, and I mean, that hairline does not accurately represent how good of a hockey player he is. But there it is, the Stanley Cup about to be raised in Vancouver. I'm 100% sure there's going to be riots after this. Another game, not a Game 7 defeat, but a game in Vancouver where they lose, and the Stanley Cup gets to be raised in their building as Jacob Trouba, the greatest captain in the NHL, coming to lift the cup for the first time in his career as the Rangers have finally done it. First Stanley Cup since '94. Now, in the playoffs for us, obviously, Laine was our best player. 12 goals, 27 points in 24 games. Breadman had 26, finally producing the playoffs. Also, 7 goals. Zibanejad had 13 goals and 25 points. Trocheck had 21. Roslovic, 16. Fox, only 14. He's not really been simulating that well. Lafreniere didn't have a great playoff run, but hopefully he can continue to grow. Draisaitl is going to win the Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. The Maurice Richard will go to Matthews. Quinn Hughes, the Norris, the Conn Smythe, of course, to Laine. Igor Shesterkin is going to win the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Sidney Crosby. And now basically it is time to turn this New York Rangers squad into a dynasty, as we already have 1 Stanley Cup, 4 more years to go. Hopefully I can either get 1 more or 2 more, and that would definitely solidify them as a dynasty in the NHL. So in the re-sign phase, we have $12 million in cap space. We do got to get back Lindgren. I definitely want to bring him back. Blake Wheeler might have to leave, but Gustafsson, also another guy I want to bring back. Those are the players who were available. Roslovic, another guy. Broberg. We definitely need to sign Broberg, but the good news is him, Lindgren, and Schneider are all RFAs. Now, here we are in free agency with up to $7.6 million to spend on any single player that we want of our choosing. And I would like to get a defenseman and a forward in this, but I mean, if I go after one of these big guys, I'm probably only end up getting one of them. In free agency, we went out and got Max Domi on a pretty big contract, but if we got to move the guy, I have no problem doing so. He fit very well in our forward schemes. He's going to be our second line center instead of Vinny Trocheck. Now, heading into our second season, we might not have the depth that we had last year, but we still have a +5 on our top 2 forward lines. Max Domi slotting in very nicely alongside Lafreniere and Wheeler. Trocheck now is on the 3rd line with Capo Caco and Barclay Goodrow. And then our 4th line is what it is, in all honesty. Defensively, still very good. Miller and Fox. Broberg's an 82 now with Trouba at an 87. And then we have Schneider and Harper on our bottom 6 pair. And Igor Shesterkin now is up to a 96 overall after winning the Vezina and the Stanley Cup in the same season. He's going to be our most valuable player on the year for sure. Now, we are going to take a slight step back in the regular season, still winning 45 games, losing 27 and 10 in overtime, 100 points, 2nd in the Metro behind Carolina. And for the entire NHL, the Boston Bruins were the best team, winning 52 games. Vancouver was up there, Edmonton, Carolina, and Ottawa. Temi Panarin is going to lead our team in scoring, 90 points, also 37 goals. Lafreniere had a big season, 30 goals, 85 points, finally broken out at 23 years old. Line take a step back with only 33 goals and 81 points. Zibanejad had 79. Domi had an okay season as their second-line center, I guess. Again, Adam Fox not performing to standard. Only 9 goals, 56 points. Not going to cut it. And Igor Shesterkin, again, a .920 save percentage. 6 shutouts, 8 overtime losses. He went 30 and 20. Draisaitl, again, going to lead everybody in scoring with 116 points, followed by Pettersson's 115. McDavid had 115. Pasternak was up there. McKinnon, 108. Nugent Hopkins had 106. Tage Thompson, a good season on the goal side. Asta will lead with 65. Draisaitl had 56. Thompson, 55. Rantanen, 55. And Austin Matthews, only 50 goals and 94 points. Stuart Skinner is going to have the most wins by any goalie with 44. And for shutouts, it will go to Freddie Anderson, who had 7 on the season. Igor's right behind him, though, with 6. And we have the New Jersey Devils in round number 1. Hopefully going to get a revenge over 2 years ago now at this point, as they beat us in, I think it was 6 games, was it? Or game 7. And honestly, similar to 2 years ago, we just got molly-whopped by the New Jersey Devils. 4 straight wins for them after being up 2-0. So even worse than 2 years ago when we actually forced a game 7. Oh my God. Why is our weakness the New Jersey Devils? I don't understand. As the Nashville Predators will go on and beat Boston to win the Stanley Cup in 6 games in the finals. We did not really have much of a playoff run, but Line was good. 2 goals, 6 points. Breadman had 4. Capo Kako had 3, Trocheck 3, Zibanejad 3, so he didn't really show up. And for Igor Shesterkin, I mean, he was good, a .921 save percentage. I will literally never complain about that. Pettersson will win the Ted Lindsay and Hart Trophy. Art Ross, the Draisaitl, Pasternak, the Maurice Richard, Quinn Hughes, the Norris. Nick Schmaltz is going to win the Conn Smythe. Stuart Skinner is going to win the Vezina and the Selke to Anze Kopitar. All right, so after losing in the first round, we got to get younger and better. Bowen Byram, 4 years left on his deal, already a 90 overall for Jacob Trouba, a first and a third round pick. And the Buffalo Sabres somehow have accepted my offer. We also have to move off of a big contract here in order to sign Lafreniere, who I qualified. He is in free agency right now. He's going to want a monster deal. Next up, I got to get rid of Vinny Trocheck's contract. $5.1 million for Jordan Staal and Dury. Also giving up 2 second-round picks. And Carolina luckily accepted my offer. Now we are going to get rid of Barclay Goodrow. He's only an 80 overall, making $3.3 million for a 7th-round pick. And somehow Chicago's rejecting my offer. I guess I'll throw in a 7th-round pick as well. And there we go, boys. We got the deal done. We shored up some cap space. We now have $10.4 million to spend, which, I mean, should be enough to re-sign Laffy. Next up, we're going to be giving up Philip Hurdle, who is making $4 million, for Connor Geekie, a 4th and a 2nd-round pick. And Arizona is cheering on the streets after accepting that offer. And thank God we got Alex Lafreniere back on a monster $10 million contract. I mean, he was offering or asking for 10 mil, so there really wasn't anything I could do. We can't lose this guy. He's a big part of our future in the next couple seasons, of course. We also picked up Jamie Benn on a very cheap contract for 2 seasons. Now, taking a look at our roster, Breadman's up to a 96, Zibanejad still an 89, Line 89, Lafreniere already is a 91. I'm debating putting him on the first line and seeing how good he can be. He had a monster season last year. But we also have Jamie Benn down on the 3rd line with Jordan Staal and Blake Wheeler, 3 veterans, and our 4th line is okay. I mean, Connor Geekie can grow to something eventually, maybe 2 years. Now, defensively, Fox and Byram, a 90 and 93 with a +5 or +3. I think I'll throw Byram on the 2nd line with Broberg to make him a little bit better. And then we have Lindgren and Schneider. And in goal, Igor Shesterkin down at a 95 overall now. So he's not absolutely God, but I mean, he had a good season last year for sure. And I guess it is time to name the new captain of the New York Rangers after trading away Jacob Trouba. Lafreniere and Zibanejad are both going to get A's, and Adam Fox has to be the captain, our best defenseman. I would give it to Igor if it was even possible in this game, but it's not. So Adam Fox, you're going to be the new captain of the New York Rangers. We would end up having another great regular season, 48, 27, and 7, 103 points, only behind the Devils, who did beat us out last year in the first round. And for the entire NHL, Winnipeg somehow was the best team, winning 50 games on the season. The Devils, the Rangers, Lightning, and Hurricanes were all top 5. Lafreniere is going to lead our team in scoring with 96 points. Breadman had 38 goals and 82 points. Line really hasn't really scored that good since the first season, only 31 goals and 73 points. Zibanejad had 71, Domi 69, a very good season by him. And Adam Fox has been absolutely horrible, man. I expected this guy to be almost point per game, as he always is when I'm controlling another team in NHL 24. And again, Shesterkin, a .920 save percentage. Only one shutout, but he did have 39 wins. A good season by him. I literally cannot complain if he's putting up a 920 every single year. I used to pray for times like this. Austin Matthews gonna dominate, 72 goals and 122 points, leading in both categories, as we are going to play the Carolina Hurricanes in the first round of the playoffs. Of course, we are gonna get bested in 6 games in the first round yet again, as the Toronto Maple Leafs go all the way, beat Vancouver in 5 games to take home the Stanley Cup. Patrick Laine was our best player in the playoffs, 5 goals, 9 points. I think he does need to be re-signed. Yes, he does. That's going to be a nightmare. He'll probably want like $10 million. Lafreniere was good. Bowen Byram was good. Zibanejad was okay, I guess. And Breadman, I mean, only 1 goal in 6 games. Probably not going to cut it. Matthews is going to dominate the individual awards. Cale Makar, the Norris, the Conn Smythe will go to Matthews. Thatcher Demko, the Vezina, and the Selke to Sidney Crosby. Luckily, we did get Patrick Laine re-signed. Artemi Panarin is back for only 1 year. Igor Shesterkin renewed his contract also. And everybody else, I believe I qualified as an RFA. Keandre Miller would be a guy I would offer a contract, considering the fact he is 86 overall. And we went out in free agency and got Patrick Kane on a pretty good contract, honestly, for 2 years. I only wanted 1 year, but he ultimately would not sign unless I gave him 2. But he's on the team, 85 overall at 37 years of age. Now, offensively, we are pretty much the same exact team. Laine, Zibanejad, and Lafreniere now on the first line. Then we have Geeky, Domi, and Breadman. Breadman only signed for 1 year, so I think I'm probably going to have to trade him some point throughout this season. He is a 94 overall at 34 years old. Tons of trade value, so if I can get back 1 player, maybe even 2 elite players younger, I'm definitely going to go out there and do that. Now, defensively, we take a look. Bowen Byram's up to a 91 with Fox at a 93. I'm still going to put Miller on the first D pair with Fox. So we have Broberg and Byram, and then Larson and Newison. And in goal, Igor Shesterkin, still a 95 overall with Cal Pickard as the backup. So here we are, almost making a monster trade. Artemi Panarin for Robert Thomas. Dvorsky, who has 2 years left on his deal, already an 87 overall, and Jake Neighbors for Jamie Benn, second and a third, just to make this deal work. Let's see. And the St. Louis Blues just completed one of the biggest trades I've ever had in one of my GM modes. That was a monster deal. Breadman, I was probably not going to be able to re-sign. He's 34 years old, probably going to decrease. His trade value is only going to get lower, so I felt it was the right time to move him. Now, we do get the +5 on both our first and second line. Laine, Thomas, and Lafreniere with Dvorsky, Zibanejad, and Kane. Our third line is very good. Jake Neighbors slots in very nicely there also. So I think we actually improved our team a little bit. And I mean, Dvorsky doesn't even need to be signed for 2 years. The GM mode will be over by then. Now, at the end of year number 4, we are going to finish with a record of 47, 28, and 7, 101 points. Third in our division. Now, for the entire NHL, Vancouver was the best team, winning 55 games, followed by Toronto, New Jersey, Philly, and Vegas. Patrick Laine is going to have a comeback season. 49 goals, 88 points. Zibanejad had 73, Lafreniere 72, Kane had 71 at an 82 overall. That was a pretty good pickup by me. Robert Thomas was okay. He was more of a playmaker. Adam Fox, again, hasn't been simulating well. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm controlling him. And Igor is going to have his worst season of the video with only a 910 save percentage. 5 shutouts, though, so I honestly can't really complain. Also had 40 wins. I wish I could get a 910 save percentage out of every single goalie I've ever had. I mean, take a look since I took over. 923, 920, 920, and now a 910. And he had a 916 in real life. And then, of course, this season, he went absolutely nuclear. 6 shutouts, 934 save percentage. Austin Matthews, yet again, is going to lead in goals with 64 and points with 120. Miller had a good season. Marty Natchez was up there, as well as Rantanen and McKinnon. For goalies, Samsonov's going to have the most wins at 47. Shesterkin was up there with 40. And for shutouts, it will go to Connor Hellebuck and Igor Shesterkin, tying at 5 apiece. The Rangers in the first round are going to face the Philadelphia Flyers, who do have Matvei Mishkov, who probably is up to like an 87 to a 90 at this point. For some reason, the Philadelphia Flyers will dominate us in 5 games in the very first round, as New York hasn't even made it out of round number 1 after winning the Stanley Cup. Absolutely embarrassing. And the Vancouver Canucks will go on, beat Tampa Bay in 6 games to finally win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Again, in the postseason, we were not very good. Max Domi was literally our leading goal and point man. 3 goals, 4 points. We're not going to win with Domi leading our team. JT Miller will win the Ted Lindsay and Hart Trophy. The Art Ross and Maurice Richard to Matthews, Hughes, the Norris, the Conn Smythe will go to Brock Besser, Allmark, the Vezina, and the Selke to Sidney Crosby. Yet again, for the 3rd time in the video, it It did take to free agency, but we did get Keandre Miller back. Had to move off Patrick Kane and his large contract. He's only an 82 overall. Did have a good season, but still, we got to get back Miller. He's an important part of our decor. Now, heading into the 5th and final season, we still have Lafreniere, Thomas, and Line, 390 overall players who should play like a 95 with the +5 there. Dvorsky, 87 with Zibanejad, who also is down at an 87 with Geeky. We also have Capo, Kako, Lapierre, and Neighbors. Our 4th line is pretty good. Defensively, screw it, I'll go Byram and Fox. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that, because we get a +1 with Byram and Broberg and then Schneider and this guy. And in goal, Igor is now down to a 94 overall. Maybe the end of his prime here in New York. Also, Laffy went down to a 90. One final season. Can we win our 2nd Stanley Cup? Now, at the end of the final season, the Rangers are going to end up finishing 3rd in the Metro, 47, 28, and 7, 101 points. Another solid season, as the Panthers are going to be the best team, winning 53 games. I mean, we were top 6 in the entire NHL. Not bad at all. Lafreniere is going to have a monster season. 35 goals, 106 points, while Line almost puts up a 60-goal season. Also 104 points. Fox finally shows up. 80 points on the year. Robert Thomas had 74. Zibanejad 68. And Dvorsky 61. As Igor Shesterkin rocked a 913 save percentage. Also 5 shutouts and 42 wins. As Leon Draisaitl is going to lead in points with 109. And for goals, it will go to Patrick freaking Line with 59 on the season, as we are going to play the Philadelphia Flyers in the first round. We would dominate the Flyers in 5 games in the first round, and now we have the Devils, who obviously we know have spanked us in the past. And of course, we would end up losing in 6 games to New Jersey, as the Vancouver Canucks will go on and beat the Devils in the finals in 6 games to capture yet again another Stanley Cup. 2 already in the video. Draisaitl is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, Art Ross, and Hart Trophy. Line, the Maurice Richard, the Norris, the Cale Makar, Brock Besser, the Conn Smythe for back-to-back seasons. Spencer Knight is going to win the Vezina, and the Selke will go to Timmy Stu of the Ottawa Senators. And that will do it for this video, boys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on a notification so you get notified when I go live or when I post a video. And you know, GM Pasta did what he was supposed to do. Came in year number 1, won a Stanley Cup, completed the challenge. After that, it got a little bit dicey. We didn't make it out of round number 1 for 3 years, but in the final season, we did make it to round 2, ultimately losing yet again, but we got the job done, got the Rangers a Stanley Cup. I would like to say thank you all for watching, and until next time, don't be silly, wrap your willy.